Om Shri Sai Ram. Offering my most humble and loving salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagavan, Sri Satya Sai Baba. Dear brothers and sisters, on this auspicious occasion of Navratri, it gives me a great pleasure to continue this beautiful journey of Bhagavan's life and his messages. Navratri are very special for a Sai community. As an avatar, Bhagavan has done few things and permitted few things. In fact, he would say, I am a mother, so anybody comes with any desire, I have to bless. That's my duty. But there were certain things which he did, and he himself practiced it, and that was one of the festivities was Navratri. If I can recall right, it was Navratri and Mahashivratri that Bhagavan celebrated himself. Others he had given permissions to do that, because for him as a mother he was open to any form of connect with his devotees. So Navratri holds a very special place in our hearts. And on this auspicious period, it's our pleasure to think about Bhagavan and bring his messages from the eyes of his voice. So let us continue this journey tonight with a prayer, and I request all of you to please join me as always. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Sai Ram, and welcome to his story through the eyes of his boys. Last week, we were listening from our few brothers, and let me, without any further delay, let me invite them back to continue our journey of exploring what they have learned and how they live their lives with God. So let me start off this conversation by bringing in Brother Satya Prakash.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Brother Satya.
Sai Ram Abhimanyu, brother.
Welcome to his story. Let me give a quick intro of Satya so that we can just catch it up. Satya has done his MBA, and he started from 11th grade and he finished his master's in business administration from 2008 to 2015 at our campus, and presently he is a Chennai-based senior manager in financial planning and analytics in Striva organization. So welcome, Satya.
Sai Ram. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram. And then we have Vishal, Brother Vishal Lakshman. He also joined Bhagavan school in 11th grade and went on to do his MBA. He is Chennai based, and he is also in the same company as manager, FPA in analytics in Striva. So his duration as a student was 2010 to 2017. So he has seen one end of avatarhood and then continues his journey with that. So welcome, Vishal.
Sai Ram, brother, thank you for the opportunity.
Our pleasure, Bhaiya. Thank you. Akshay. Akshay is, oh, I think his lights have. Akshay, I hope you can hear us and you're still connected. You're on mute, Akshay.
Sairam,
Yeah,
Sairam, Sairam. I am sorry, I've just lost power, but I should be on shortly. Thank you. I
no,
hope
no
you can
problem.
hear me.
Yes, Brother Akshay Kamath, he is from Bombay, and he also joined in his 11th grade and went on to do his MBA Finance from Prashanti campus. He is then Assistant Vice President Finance at Stride. His period of studentship was from 2003 to 2010. So, welcome, Akshay. And last, certainly, but not the
Thank you,
least,
Sairam, brother.
welcome. We have Brother Surya,
Sairam, brother.
or should I say Professor Surya Prakash Pati.
That's only in the college. I'm right now a brother among all of you. That's it.
Thank
Sairam.
you. So, Brother Surya Prakash, he is an associate professor in human resource management. I am Kozhikode,
Kozhikode.
Kozhikode, right? Yeah, he was in our campus from 1998 to 2005, where he did from his 11th grade and went on to do his master's from Prashantanilayam campus. And it's all a pleasure for all of you. Please, Sairam, and thank you for joining me and welcome.
Thank you.
Sairam.
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 So,
Sairam.
so brothers, we had last week we had taken a journey in a beautiful manner in which all of you had shared how you all came to Bhagavan and how your journey with Bhagavan started. And I think Brother Satya was giving us a nice story about how people come to God, uh, kind of helplessness which brings you there, right? And it is actually a very beautiful thought. I thought let me start off with that link as we finished last week. Somehow or other, all of us with some kind of fear or some kind of helplessness which becomes a kind of fear land on the path. And when I say the path is anything which takes us closer to the God, to the origin of our life. So, and it is very, it's I would say it's ironical. It's kind of funny that how we can't learn in positive manner. We need a negative trigger. I just wanted to start this conversation with a thought that every big thing has happened or has started with a kind of, a, so to say, negative emotion. For example, Ramayana started with a Vishad Yoga. There was a pain which they saw to Hans. One was shot by the arrow of a
A hunter.
hunter,
Yes.
and that created a pain and pathos in the heart. And from there, the first verse came, and then the beautiful Ramayana flew in. Behind everything there is some kind of pain, and this pain with devotees or a person who has to come closer to the God or anybody who has to go on the path somehow seems to be inevitable. What are your thoughts? Let me open the floor like that and get your experiences or feeling with all of you to say, have how many of you have experienced a similar way of coming to God, a kind of helplessness? Welcome. Tell me. I open the
Yeah.
floor for anybody. So,
Yes. So,
Surya, you can start off, no
yeah.
problem.
So, brother, with your permission. So, point is, what you say is absolutely right. Avoidance of pain has been always a foundation of any civilizational progress. You like it or not, for with darkness, people sort of researched and come to a light. And the earliest fire was sort of discovered because people were cold, and so two stones were sort of hit together, and then the spark came out, and from there the fire. The point is, you are right. How I came to Bhagwan, just before I became formally a student. In the last conversation, what happened is, remember I mentioned that the first darshana student was when Bhagwan came from Vrindavan, and he stepped out right in front of me. So, but there is a little story even before that. So it is in somewhere in transit between having cleared the higher secondary school entrance examination and joining the school formally. So in the transit, what happened is we had gone to Vrindavan. So my father said, now that we have done with this examination, so we heard Baba was in Bangalore during that time. Why not actually go to Baba and just have a darshan? Our first darshan as a family. So we all hopped into this bus. From with the bus we went to Bangalore Majestic, and from there somewhere, and that time we had no idea buses can go to Kadugudi. We just said Whitefield, and they dropped us somewhere very very far away, and from there we had to walk all the way from it was a long walk, and it became a little problematic, but nevertheless we were all there. And finally, I remember my mother distinctly praying there. The Swami, this is maybe the only time I will ever come to see you. If at all I come next time, then my son has to be, like almost a polite threat. Yeah, I will be your devotee if you take in my son. And this is the best education chance he has. And we really want to sort of get in here. And from long, it was a silent prayer, but it was a prayer. The way we pray to any of the idols of the Lord in Jagannath Puri, that is where it is. Similarly, it's the same thing. And hey, I got it. That's a different story. It was just complete grace. I remember also doing the same thing in my second year UG when I was in Brindavan. I had come, my examination had gone really bad, and I was very scared. I'll be almost on the verge of failing in one paper. And being a student and coming from a family which values education and marks so much, it was very difficult for me to even think that I can fail, and also I'll be okay with it. Right? I have seen people being very okay with it. Swami will look after this. I said, yes, why not? So I started praying to Bhagavan, and literally, I remember we had come for Dashera, and when boys come for Dashera, we stay on till birthday. And so what we do is, I literally prayed to Bhagwan every day. Please मुझे pass कर दीजिए, please मुझे pass कर दीजिए. And I then after some time it almost became a mild threat. Swami, if I'm passing in the interview room door, you will look back. And Swami used to look back. Then the mind is happy, but the mind also is a monkey mind. He says, so Swami, the next day, Swami, if again I'm passing, I need a reconfirmation. Just before you go back to your residence, that is Purna Chandra, please look at once at the boys, and Swami again will look back. And the point is, so many confirmations, but so many doubts, but finally I passed it. So point is, yes, with pain, the intensity of prayer also increases. The level of pain differs from person to person, but nevertheless, pain brings you to God.
Interesting, yeah? Everybody, all of us have to go through that journey. So great. Anybody else? Vishal?
When Surya brother was talking about examinations, I get reminded of one incident that happened with me when I first gave my 11th standard entrance exam for Satyasai Higher Secondary School. So this was in the year 2010. Like, since I was in the Balavikas fold right from my childhood, the biggest dream that I ever had was to join Swami's institution for my education. So when that opportunity came to give my exam, so I remember we had basically myself and my brother from Thrissur, we both were preparing together for this exam right from our 9th standard end. And then the day we went to Puttaparthi, I still remember during the journey in the train, we both used to have books in our hands and we used to keep revising all the subjects, geography, mathematics, history, and discussing questions. And it was like that the whole journey. And then we reached Parthi, and we went for darshan, and then we went to the hostel. Next to hostel is the school. So we first went to the hostel side, prayed in front of the Ganesha there.
Keep your mic closer to you.
Yeah. And then we went to the school side. And as you all know, in higher secondary school, in front of the higher secondary school, there's a big idol of Ganesha. And we stood there, we prayed, and then we went inside to write the exam. All prepared, we are all ready to give the best in the exam. So we got the question paper. When I saw the question paper, the first is the English section, and it was cool. It was very nice. reading all those questions. But when I went to the next section, that's when I started realizing the questions are getting tougher and tougher, and I'm not able to relate and to find which answer should I take or which answer should I write. So at that point of time, I could feel that heat generating in my body, and the fear was there. Oh my God, I'm going to lose and I'm going to miss the chance of being in Swami's Institute. So these two emotions were just riding my mind, and I was literally like not able to take my pen and write even the English section, which I was confident of. So it was literally like that for the first 40 minutes of the exam. And then I remember the invigilator, they came and they asked, came to me, anything, all okay? And I told, yes, sir, all okay. Then I just I don't remember what exactly I wrote. Some MCQ questions I just did BA, Umshi Saram. And I did it like that. And I was literally doing my exam like that. After the exam got over, I came out. I saw my brother who also wrote the exam with me. He also came out. Our eyes fell on each other, and I was literally crying. And I told him, "I'm not going to pass." And he was also in the same emotion. He was also telling me the same thing, and I'm not going to pass. It didn't go well at all. Whatever we prepared, it was totally different from that, and it didn't go well. So the exam got over in the afternoon. Then we went back to the room. It was outside the ashram. We were sitting in the room, and we were sitting next to our mothers, and we were telling them that it didn't really go well. We are so unhappy. We are going to miss the opportunity to study in Swami school, because that was the only dream we had, to study in Swami school. And our parents told that, don't worry, keep praying to Swami, he'll take care. And I remember that afternoon from 1:30 till the time we went to darshan into mandir, we were constantly chanting Sai Gayatri and praying to Swami. And then we went to darshan. There was there was bhajans, and then Swami's discourse were there. After Swami's discourse, we just prayed sitting there, Swami, please bless us, Swami, please bless us. After Swami's discourse, Swami just turned towards our side, gave us Abhayasra, and gave that beautiful smile. And that instant, we understood Swami will take care. And we ran from Mandir till school, because that evening they'll put up the result of the exam. So we ran to the school, and then we saw the board. They have put the board, and they've stuck the file, they have stuck the paper there with the result. So we stood over there to see. We saw 1, 2, 3, 4, two sheets. We just scrolled down the two sheets. Then I told my brother, unfortunately, our names are not there, and automatically the tears started coming. Then he told, no, 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 wait, there is one more sheet, and there are only 4 names in that sheet. And there, both of our names are there. And like, whoa, Swami, no idea how Swami has taken us. And then, yeah. And after that,
If
things
you,
have
yeah, if you look at it, see, this is a different kind of fear actually, because you have already jumped into the arena, and your fear is of not losing that proximity. So I
yes.
understand, but let me take you a step back a little bit, and when you look at how this fear also starts. So first you have, like Surya was mentioning, you mentioning, once you enter the system, you have to follow certain uh, what should I say, lifestyle.
Routine. Yep.
Okay. And that becomes another fear, that if you don't follow, you'll get punished. Or if you do not study, you'll get, you get to fail. So you are out of the campus. So there is so many things, but driven by fear. What is your, all of your thoughts about that? We all get driven by different things, but incidentally, whether we like it or not, initially we are all driven. Even the activities which we are really supposed to do are also driven by the same fear psychosis, if I may say so. Akshay is smiling too much, so let me start with him.
Yeah, I would say that's a that's okay. First of all, Swami's grace lies are back. He loves test is his taste, and just as Brother Abhimanyu started the prayer, oh Lord, let everything flow through thee. And Swami decided, let's put a test in Akshay's life, and took off the lights. But Bhagwan's grace lights are back, and hopefully it stays on. Uh, very, I think the first challenge which every student once he enters in, and a very basic physical challenge, is Suprabhatam, and getting up early in the morning, right? Standard fear. And it continued. This waking up in the morning at 5:30 was a major stress point, and not doing it, we used to get afraid, because if you don't attend it, after a while it will impact your grades, your parents will be called, and there was always a fear about all of that. And after some time, it went into a space where, you just start doing it up to a level where, once I remember our wardens are telling us, Swami once had said that, if all the boys actually bathe fully, are absolutely fresh, then actually, he will prakat
Uh,
If you
I
bathe,
think
Swami
that's a
will.
miracle. That's a miracle. I think when he said prakat, maybe Bhagwan actually came there, and 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 he had to go. Okay, allow me, with your permission, brother,
Yes,
to take
sure,
it
sir.
from there. You see, I very well understand when we say that fear is a driver of many actions, and fear, unfortunately or fortunately, is associated with many different type of things. One is the fear of loss, then the problem is the fear of gain, and then the fear of retaining what you gain, and then finally the fear of everything again, losing out. The point is, it is a sequence or a cobweb which is very difficult. So one good way to transit this is to go a step up, and that is where Bhagwan comes in. Staying, while fear is a great motivator for action, but staying in fear and doing everything because of fear and fear alone can completely damage your psyche, because eventually what happens is a personality which is not confident, which is only doing things because he doesn't want to be caught or he doesn't want to be pulled up, is somebody who cannot take risks, somebody who cannot decide for himself. It's only about rules and rules and rules, and not about decider of a context, or taking or being decisive in a context. Or that is where Bhagwan comes in. So I remember this incident, brother, and I'll tell you where this fear actually manifested to, something real pure love for Bhagwan. It's a very, very initial thing. I'm trying to understand whose presence I am in. My teachers were very helpful. My brothers were very helpful. I'm going through all these things, just in a very, if I may say, as objectively as possible, yet very, very, connected and very, very participative in the process, not questioning this, putting all the questions within myself and trying to just appreciate what I'm going through. So I remember, Salis sir, my first, Christmas, in front of Bhagwan. The point is, it's the first time I'm exposed to a Sarvadharma type of, environment. So although you know all the religion, yet you don't know any religion. So the only religion we used to know is Sanatan Dharma, what we call as Hinduism, and that also you are very, 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 very superficial or elementary in that. So I remember Celeste taking all the schoolboys from the hostel, to the senior boys hostel, because we have to practice something called Christmas carols. And I was very enthusiastic. I studied in a Christian missionary school, but I knew nothing about any Christmas carol. So first time I was singing, and I realized suddenly, there is some bass and alto. Vishal, our singer, must be knowing better. I just know those words. I have no idea what they are, but basically, schoolboys, because we are, still in upper bacha types, our voices are still yet to mature. So we will sing something in the high pitch, and the older boys will sing something in the low pitch. So an effect will come. So we practiced and we memorized where to actually do that, and we tried to, sort of, Celeste said, ignore, those institute boys when they sing. You only concentrate on this pitch, and all of us were singing. We practiced multiple times, multiple days, and finally Christmas was there. So on that day, I remember we royally flunked in front of Bhagwan. We royally flunked because we never knew what alto was. We're not singers. So what alto was, what best was, and there was Santa was coming, and the Santa was, going over and over, jumping around. All our attention went that side. But I remember Swami still continuing to clap for us, as if, the boys have scaled Mount Everest. While we have royally flunked, Swami was appreciating us as the boys have scaled Mount Everest. And then suddenly I realized, brother, all the foreigners were also very, very appreciating. It was their song. They're also appreciating whatever we sang. And how can you not fall in love with such a Lord? Who ignores and protects you and supports you, despite knowing that you have done a most miserable job publicly. And you suddenly realize you cannot do for the fear of flunking, but you have to do for pleasing him. And the only fear that matters is fear of displeasing him. And that, I will say, is fear of sin. Of course, my brothers can add on many things, but that is where, I realized that apart from resources, usually we are worried about resources. From resources, we have to move towards the central love of our lives, and that is Bhagwan. And if we try to please him, many things can be taken care of.
I think you have really taken the conversation ahead, because most of the people, they are, stuck in that fear zone for long time. Sometimes a lifetime passes and we have not yet got out of working without fear. Going to work is with fear, going to school is with fear, playing is with fear. The whole basis is fear. Like somebody says, even living is a fear of death. We are
Yes.
driven by fear all around. And I feel
Absolutely.
one of the beautiful contribution of Avatar in life is that he changes that format of fear to love,
Absolutely.
and he places himself in front so that we can experience love and start living with love and for love rather than with fear in life. Akshay,
Fear.
what do you have to say for that? Welcome back. I hope you
Sorry
will
again,
stay.
poor connection.
No
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, I know, I've been in and out. Yeah, I can. I think this again takes me to a small portion of where my great grandfather had, used to say, something which I think even Bhagwan has quoted, that the Hindu scriptures in some places they say, "Papoham, papa karmana," means I am sin. I am born out of sin, and I need to, kind of ensure that I need have this fear always of committing it, right? And then the word was beautifully changed to praptoham, prapta
Okay.
karmana, means I am a part of Swami, I've come from his prapti. So, loving him and doing it is what brings it there. I think that was the first thought which came in, because even on a personal
I
aspect, I
think,
remember the
Akshay, this we
first
discussed in
time
our
when I was
previous
really
sessions. Sorry, I think
right.
this line we had discussed in our previous sessions with other brothers who had
Yes.
shared this story,
Okay.
how Bhagwan changed it from papoham to praptoham, from
Yes.
sin to
Beautiful.
deservedness. Carry on, please carry on.
Exactly. So that yeah, so that same fear structure, I remember first time when I was even approaching. So I mean, I'm sorry if I've lost the thought, because I was just out for like a few minutes. I
No
hope
problem,
I'm
carry on.
keeping the conversation on track. So when I was before joining a student, and I was from my 6th to my 10th standard in my school, I kind of encountered a decent amount of bullying. So every day going to school was fear, right? And I remember chanting all the Balvika shlokas, right, from Karagre Vasate Lakshmi to Samudra Vasane Devi, just as a, like, some kind of way of Swami, I'm really afraid. Just protect me, protect me, protect me. And then this annual visit to, Bhagwan for this Ashadi was a way of, purchasing this annual insurance. And I remember that it was all driven by this fundamental fear that for the first time when I would actually ask Swami, that Swami, आपके कॉलेज में एडमिशन चाहिए, or that I want admission in your high school or college. Swami said, yes, I will give you. And today when you think about it, when the Lord of the universe says he will give it to you will take that, like, with all hands. And but when you are living in fear so fundamentally, the next line which comes from my ninth standard brain is, Swami, sure? I asked Swami, Swami, sure you will give it? Sure. And and today when I think about that, that is that fundamental basis of living in fear, to the point where after a few years, when in one of my final dramas, I was expecting Swami to, to say good boy or well acted, and he just comes and says, in in your second MBA, and that, that means everything. You don't need to say anything more. I think that's moving from, fear fundamentally to, kind of love for God, and uh, getting there. I think that was my journey, I would say, over like a 10-year period with Swami.
Wonderful. It's so beautiful to see that how we all might have started with the fear of doing something, losing something, or losing someone, like Surya said, pleasing his father. Vishal had fear of, not getting an admission or whatever. There is something or someone that you have a fear of losing. And then Avatar replaces that with love of God. So now you are studying not for any fear, but you are studying because you want to please him, you want to be with him.
Yes.
And now comes a new definition that fear still exists, but that
Yes.
fear is not of God and not of anything, driving force, but fear becomes losing that privilege.
Absolutely.
So that is what I feel, as Surya was also mentioning, that becomes, as Swami defines it, as fear of sin. So
Absolutely.
Satya, what is your thought on that? Any input?
um, I'll just go back to the normal fear concept that brings you to God. So, what actually happens in that fear of failure, I will call it rather. So, what happens in the fear of uh, normally when happy things happen, we tend to take credit for that. I'm just talking about an average human being. When happy things happen, I have done it. I have done it. When bad things happen, it starts with I can do it still. I can do it still, and then you reach a position where you can't do it anymore, and that is when you really start praying, and that is when you really actually that is the test of your faith, as they say, right? And
Yes.
you essentially realize what actual faith means when you have 100% given the ownership of that act to Bhagavan. You are in that kind of situation, like just correlating from the incident that I told last time to what Vishal told. You know that you can't do anything, and that faith actually becomes the basis that later on develops into your love for God. So it is, I think, that way when we say that God's delays are never denial, sort of a thing. He pushes you till the last moment, stretches every fiber of your faith, and then at the last moment when it's like literally about to snap, he swoops in like the ever graceful, merciful God, and then he saves you. But I think that is where he's giving you the taste of faith, that the moment you have absolute faith in me, because unlike a normal human being, uh, he is like what, omnipotent, omniscient. He knows exactly when you have given that 100% to him, and that is when he comes in and he tells you that the moment you have faith in me, 100% faith in me, I will come in. And he's teaching us, and that is where that faith slowly develops into that love that brother very rightfully said, that fear of sin and love. Because once you have tasted that his mercy, when you have put your faith in him, you want more of that. It is like you got addicted to it, sort of it. And so that is why you move on to the fact that I want to feel more of that love, more of that what he's giving me. And it's like, so you automatically transfer that point of view to I need to do everything I can so that he's always there. I mean, you feel that ever flowing stream of love that comes from Swami. And I think that is the journey that goes from fear of failure to a fear of sin, sort of a situation.
Satya, just riding on your thought, I'm just curious. You mentioned that God waits till the last minute and to instill that point of faith that you have not achieved, and the moment you reach the faith, do you think this, which normally people will accept you? I'm not arguing with that, right? Everybody says there's, as we say, there's a delay in God's place, but there's never, what should I
Denial.
say?
Denial.
देर है अंधेर नहीं है,
Denial.
that there is,
There and
yeah,
there.
delay but not denial, right? So I'm kind of curious to know, do you really feel God has to wait, or is that the right time? Is it driven only to provide faith in us, or faith makes it happen? Do you think God does things, or is he an actor in this whole task, or is he, as he says, I'm a drishta, I'm an observer? I'm just throwing a little discussion off. So
Yeah, I think, brother, with your permission, I think God is
yes,
very much an actor. But point is, see, let me take a metaphorical example. Suppose all of us are on the stage and we are actually acting it right now. uh, 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 and we know the script is written by somebody else. There's already has been a rehearsal before by a director, maybe multiple times. Now when we are on the stage, we actually get into this flow and we say we have done it. So point is, God is very much the actor. The only thing is he acted before this particular time, preparing us for this play. Now, whether we recognize it or not recognize it, it doesn't change him. What changes is us. So if we recognize that God has been this, the sutradhar, as we say, then if at all the drama did not work out, I can straight away direct this entire thing to God. The director told me to say so. So I said, you may not like it, the director is responsible. But if I say that this drama is completely done by me, well, whether it is praise or blame, I have to take it. So God is very much in the game. Only thing is, He has prepared us for it. That is my take. He is not acting along with it. When an avatar comes, that is when God acts along with you, and that comes very very rare moments, and that is where everything gets a little bit of mixed up. And people who stay under the eyes of the avatar, they're in a greater dilemma, because he makes you do everything. He makes you reap the benefits out of it. At the same time, every day you have to remind yourself, it is not what you are doing it. It is the avatar who is making you do it. Very very difficult, but then that is what the game is, brother.
Okay. So you think the action was important, that God had to intervene to finish that action? See, when we talk about it, no, like Swami waited till the last minute and then he jumped in. As some sister Ishita is writing here, his time is the right time. And I totally agree with her. Because when he acts, he's not acting at the last minute, he's acting at the right minute. The only thing is, we are so eager to finish it faster because we want to interpret it in our time zone. So we think he has delayed it or he has come on
Absolutely.
time. So
Absolutely.
I don't know whether you will you agree, Akshay. Okay, Vishal, say whatever.
Um, I
I'll,
think
I'll just bring I'll bring a I'll bring a small thought
sure,
here.
Akshay, go ahead.
Yeah, so just
Go ahead,
a
Akshay.
small one. So there in again, I'm just digressing a little. So in football, there is this famous club called Manchester United, right? And they would be 2-2 at 90 minutes, right? Or they'll be 3-2 down at 90 minutes, and or at 88 minutes. And then they had this legendary coach, Sir Alex Ferguson, who would look at it, would look at his watch and suddenly point to the players. Just stay at a small watch, just point to his players. And that's called Fergie time, they used to call it. And at that point of time, the players' intensity would intensify so much in the game that like literally 85 to 90% of the matches they have won in that Fergie time, as they call it, right? Taking that same example about Swami, and just in our own small life, just a very small incident we had in our 2005 12th class drama, and Swami was absolutely playing on time with us. And just to bring that thing, so the drama was supposed to happen on the 24th of March. We were set up. It was the board exams were over. We were well prepared. Getting on to doing the drama, we have come fully ready. Swami suddenly says, 24th, you want to do it morning? So he said, yeah, but nobody will come. So we said, okay, Swami. So then Swami said, okay, let's do it on 25th evening. Swami suddenly says. So we said, suddenly we realized that half the batch of boys have already booked their tickets for the 12 p.m., 1 p.m. trains on 25th afternoon. So we tell Swami, please, the boys are leaving. Swami's like, so what? My boys can do anything. Get another batch of boys and make them learn the drama. It is no problem. So Swami, is trying to say, how anything is possible. Why are you getting so stressed? My boys can do anything. I keep telling this. So guys, prove it. So we are like, Swami, please, Swami, 25th morning. And then Swami made an announcement that 25th morning is the play. Now, 25th morning, Swami comes in the morning. We are all ready. The play has been announced. So you think, it's fine. So it's like that. It's like the perfect football match, which is running 2-1, and, you're going to win it. And Swami comes in and he stands at the golden bars. And this is his seat. He stands on one side of the seat. So normally Swami will see, then two boys will take the card to him. Then he will go and sit. So Swami comes and says, today's a program. Yeah. Do we need to have it? So, Swami, it's your drama at the end of the day. We just announced it yesterday. So please, it's your. Swami says, okay. And he sends the card boys back. Okay. Now, Swami's Fergie time begins. So he comes and, he stands in front of the seat And we are all just, then the prayer's intensity, that graph starts going up. So we're praying, Swami is going to sit, Swami is going to sit, Swami is going to sit. And then he takes one step left, like as though he's leaving the seat and heading back into the interview room suddenly. And the prayers go even higher. It's like that absolute 94th minute. And then Swami turns, looks at all of us, and then goes and sits on the chair. And that the drama, reaches another level of crescendo, because, that is when Swami has kind of, pulled. So it is the right time, because Sailesh sir summarized it very beautifully. He said it was like a rubber band, your devotion or your love for him. Then Swami slowly stretches it. Then he takes that once, then he decides not to sit on the chair. So he stretches it even more. Then he takes that one step on the other side of the chair as though he's leaving. And then your devotion has reached its pinnacle. And then he says, that is when is the right time. And then he decides to sit on the chair. So, I think I agree
very,
with sister
very
also.
beautiful,
It is the
very
right time,
beautiful
because
example.
Beautiful.
Akshay, very beautiful example you have shared. And my question is
Right.
on that example itself will fit in. So do you think that action, like your play, was important? Or what was the purpose of Avatar? Now, action is replaced in your
Beautiful
scenario
question. I
as a
think,
drama. So what was the purpose of the whole drama?
right.
Was the drama to be enacted? Was that the purpose?
That's what I'm saying. Not at all.
Then what was it?
He literally plucked out. Yeah, he literally plucked out the entire drama from the scene, threw it
You're
aside,
correct.
and
So
just
now
wanted to
I'm
focus
asking
on,
you to,
us
correct.
understanding the lesson.
Brother, I think it is all about a bonding. Bhagwan is strengthening the bonding between the Bhakta and the Bhagwan. That is what it is. Because had that drama not happened, today Akshay or Surya or Satya or Vishal would have nothing to speak about, no memories to speak about. So prayers intensify the bonding, and unfortunately or fortunately, we pray whenever we are in dire situation. So it is to strengthen the bonding. I'm just taken back to some of this, in the Srimad Bhagavad Puran. It is written Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna Lila was being played. Krishna knew that Indra is going to come and do all of these things. He could have saved even before. Why did he wait for Indra to do all that he needed to do? Throw all the rains and all everything on Gokul, and then he had to take up a mountain, and then he has to put the entire people under the mountain, because people have something to speak about, and people will know about him, Krishna, more, and there will be a bonding between the Bhakta and the Bhagwan, and also to teach Indra a lesson. So when God does something, it is a multiple things that is happening. We are seeing this at a very unidimensional way. But as far as I understand, pain comes because we can intensify our prayers and we can become closer to Him. That is what my take on this is.
Yeah,
I think,
obviously,
brother,
Bhagwan. Yes, sure, Satya. Go on.
I think it's Swami or God teaching us that uh, it is at that last minute, like what Akshay said, is that stretching of the rubber band, the pinnacle of faith. It is at that point when he's actually teaching us the meaning of transfer of ownership of our action from us to him, from the individual to the God. Because till that time you might be saying that Swami, I have handed it over to you, Swami, I have handed it over to you. But till that that rubber band is stretched the maximum, you have not actually handed it over to him. And it is at that point that you realize what it means when you say that, Swami, I am offering it to you. And I think
So
that is Swami's
then
cues. Swami is waiting for that
perfect,
cue, to
perfect.
actually act.
So basically, just to teach that lesson, he enacted the whole play.
Yes.
Whether you call it a
Yes,
last minute,
Absolutely.
11th hour, or whatever. So the installation of faith in us, or the non-doership, karmanye vadhikaraste, or whatever you want to explain it. See, those are the lessons. And for that, he can create a campus. He can create events. But the events don't matter to him. But what matters is, did you learn the lesson for which he created that drama? So that's what I was hitting at for you. Very good. Thank you. Let's see how Bhagwan does everything. It is not an 11th hour for God, but it is the time when we learned it, it happened. Because
it's more
for
for
me,
our benefit.
Yeah, it is for him. It doesn't matter when you learn, but the moment you learnt it, he pulled the plug. It's done. Course is over. You got graduation finished. So till then he'll take you. And for us, it looks like appears to be the end of the tunnel, or like oh my God, I'm the cliffhanger. Now I'm right there, but it's not right there. For him, there can be another step down. So, but the
Yes.
beauty is the lesson which he is going to teach you. He is such a persistent teacher. He is such a focused teacher. I can't imagine, because he will do anything for his purpose. And that is what has been like
Absolutely.
mind-boggling for me from first day when he announced himself till the last human day. Was so focused. Any opportunity he'll get to instigate divinity in you, to make you face God, he will never lose it. Any word he can throw on you to get you
So
that inspiration, he will never leave. Yes, Akshay.
sorry. So I think me and my wife, we get an opportunity to talk to quite a few parents about the concept of loving and like, right? Today's world is all about likes. Instagram, Facebook, you see it, your popularity is counted in number of likes. And if you look at a parent, and again, I'm saying this is not a generic comment, but a large number of humans, and it's today's trend, is to be liked by people. So when we put the word, is it important to be liked by your child, or you need to love your child? That's the kind of point, as you said, he will not stop until the lesson is learned, because the meaning of love here of Swami is to ensure to do what is best for his child. That is the point. It is not important whether we like Swami at the end of it, but he will ensure that the lesson is put like, I remember that point. I'm like, sorry, why is it's literally ragging? How can you, like, 2 days of continuous ragging, but just to teach that lesson, that give it up, give it up, give it up. Uh, so typical. That's his
Yes.
persistence as a mother.
You're bringing so many memories to me. There was one boy who just said, Swami said, "Kya karta hai?" Holidays started. He says, "What are you doing?" And he said, "Swami, not planned yet." And Swami ragged him for 15 minutes. Oh, look, he's going to plan. Can you plan? Oh, you have the capacity to plan. He went on with him with planning. The poor fellow had to fall at his feet and say, "Sorry, I'm sorry, Swami. Just slip of tongue. I didn't mean that I'm going to plan." He said, "Oh, he can plan. You see, he can plan." And he went around telling everybody in the Portico, "This boy can plan." So it was like, hell, what are you doing, Swami? And it was such a experience. And the boy say, "Oh my God, I just slipped of tongue, man. I just said, I have not planned, Swami." "Oh, can you plan?" 15 minutes he kept pulling his leg that, "Oh, you can plan?" So imagine how he can drill that same thing in each one of us, that get aware that everything is beautifully God.
Yes.
Wonderful, no?
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Beautiful.
take this
Yes, like,
concept of fear
yeah,
and
sorry, one small,
yes, yes,
yeah,
Akshay.
yeah, let's move on. Sorry, one
Sure,
more
if you
small
have
story
anything
I
else.
just bring in, like,
Yeah.
exactly about that. So I remember one senior alumni just was narrating the story to me a few years ago. So Swami did this full discourse. I think it was a summer course or something, about God being your only friend. Swami kept saying, you may think that humans are your friends, and it's never there. They're all having selfish motives. It was a full 1 hour discourse. And then at the end of the discourse, the boys were waiting in line for something. And this brother was also there. And there was a small gap he had kept in front of him. And Swami came in suddenly and said, "Hey, who is this gap for?" And this boy is about to say, "Swami, this is for my friend." And he's saying, as I'm saying the words, "This is for my friend," I'm realizing I'm slipping as I talk. That Swami fired him. That what is the use of the entire 1 hour discourse if that guy is your friend at the end? It's like a snipe ambush.
You realize that, oh God, he's gone. Now you're caught. Oh my God.
As it is coming out, he's saying, I'm realizing, oh God.
I
It
made a
looks like
mistake now. I made a
it
mistake.
It sounds like, this 1 hour lectures we have in colleges, and after that the teacher gets over. Ah, ho gaya, chalo, abhi chalte hain. But
That
yes,
surprise test.
Hey,
God is
there is
very
a
different.
brother Saurav asking a very beautiful thought here. The purpose of stretched rubber band is to make us learn, but the lesson from this learning is often left our subjective interpretation. Any thought about this ambivalence that the divine creates? Any thoughts?
So, this is a beautiful question, Brother Saurav. Actually, uh, let me take it in two ways as I learned from my teachers in Prashanti Nilayam. And I'll not name the teachers, but it is very important. The first thing is, yes, it is a subjective interpretation. But Bhagwan, first thing, when Bhagwan gives you a message, it is only for you. And if the message is intended for you, you will get it. Second thing is, as per the teachers, that I had a chance to talk to, they say you need to be spiritually evolved over time to understand this message. There are many things Bhagwan does, and I'm aware of my brothers who just get it just like that. But for most of us, it's like, we are left with interpretation, reinterpretation, misinterpretation. And so that is why I mean, as per my teachers, you need to be in satsang forever and forever. Keep on talking about Bhagwan, learn his leelas, understand him, be in tune with him. Then possibly, the interpretation will be right, and the interpretation will be what Bhagwan wants, and then our subjectivity slowly diminishes. So in summary, how much in tune with him you are determines, the strength of the message. So there I will
Very,
want to.
very
I
well,
think
very well.
I think in this context also, what Abhimanyu, whether you said that Swami is a very, he's a very dedicated teacher. Uh, it is not that he's going to just create one incident like this. You either learn the lesson or not. He's going to leave it. If you learn the lesson, then you have gone to the next step. He's now starting the next lesson. But you have not learned the lesson. He's going to again and again put you into that same situation. Replay that same series of events till you accept the fact that okay, there is something to be learned here. You pass the test and then you can move on to the next step. So I think it's not that he creates an ambivalence. It is that he's giving us an opportunity there to progress to the next step. It
Yes.
is either we pick it up there as ask and ye shall be given, that sort of a thing. At that point
And
of time, if you ask why it happened and then you understand the answer, you move to the next step, or you stay there and he will again, you know over a period of maybe 1 month, 1 year, 10 years, 100 years, he will again create that same situation. You are again in the same place.
I don't think he'll wait for 100 years. He will keep creating that event.
and the
You
and the
learn it.
beauty of
Yes,
and the
Vishal.
beauty
and
of and the
and
beauty of
actually,
Swami is actually that one instant will be the same instant but different lessons learned by different people. So that's the
Oh,
beauty of
yes.
Bhagavan. One instance is enough to
absolutely,
pass on multiple meanings, multiple messages to different people.
Certainly.
I actually,
So
I don't
so
know, brother. I'll just bring an incident
yeah,
to just validate. Uh, Sorry, I'm just
go
coming
ahead,
in
go
a
ahead, go ahead,
bit
Akshay,
delayed.
go
Must be
ahead.
just due to the Wi-Fi. So I remember, yeah, yeah. So I remember this small incident which happened to me in South Africa when we were a part of a satsang, and there was this program. I think it was for Heritage Day or one of the beautiful days. So we had this entire set of children from a township, which is a very very dangerous township, one of the most dangerous places in the world. They call it, but this wonderful family had raised the Sai Center there, and they were doing wonderful seva, and we had kind of booked like a minivan for bringing the kids to the center at 7 p.m. In the evening for performing this program. And at that point of time, somehow it becomes 7:15. At 7:20 the bhajans are supposed to end and these children are supposed to come in, and at 7:20 they messages that they're still waiting for the van to come, and it becomes 7:40, and the time just keeps going on, and they literally never made it. And the last minute, me and a brother just shared a few experiences of Swami and kind of finished the program, and they were shattered. They could not even leave the house. They were waiting on the road for 45 minutes. And then the next session, when they came and said, why would Swami do this to us? And later when we came to know, it could have it we discussed 100 scenarios, because it's very important in such ambivalent situations to ask the question why. Today, just half an hour before, I had like a small life coaching session with a person who said that my 20-year-old cousin passed on, and she was such a kind person, and their families have always been devoted to Swami. Why would it happen? It's such an ambivalent scenario where you can take 100 lessons from. But that is where, when you ask the question why, you have to realize that things could have been much worse. Maybe this van could have met with an accident and it saved maybe all the children's lives by them not coming. Or in this person who passed on, maybe she was saved of 30 years of suffering. When you start looking at things with the perspective that everything that Swami is doing is for the best of us, then you start getting that acceptance, and the ambivalence kind of disappears. This is
Beautiful.
my thought
Brother,
on
I just
this.
I want to highlight one thought here, just a thought for everybody, for our viewers also. Scriptures, Bhagavad Gita, and even Bhagavan have mentioned this in a many multiple manner, that God is a witness. He does not do anything. The actions done through avatar, we can say and interpret that he is doing it, but those are also reflection of our own beings. His conduct, his behavior is dependent on us, because what we need, he reflects that. So in avatarhood, but otherwise as a god, if you look at it, there is nothing which God needs to do. Like Bhagavan said, "Oh Swami, did you will it to have hospital? Did you will it to have colleges?" And Swami said, "No, my will is too much. I just willed once, and the creation happened. Rest is all manifestations." See, look at the statement which Bhagavan makes. Don't say will. That will is too big. So he willed only once, and the manifestation happened. Rest is only, permutation combinations of three gunas. So literally, when we pass on this buck that Swami is doing it, or why didn't he do it, it becomes a kind of an escapism with most of people. So my suggestion would be, like, let's keep this thought that God is a drishta. But when you start thinking he's the doer, then you shut up. Because that stage, when you realize that God is a doer, then there is no discussion left. And that is the beauty of the cycle. But here I get another question for you. We always, now even if I look at it from this perspective, and a very natural question comes that if everything is dependent on my actions, why do I need God? Why God? Why avatar? Why do you think avatar has to take birth? Your inputs.
So, brother, again with your permission, I will
Sure.
borrow from the Bhagavad Gita. I think in chapter 3 or chapter 4, I may be wrong with the chapters here. Please forgive me. But one of the reasons, Swami says, Krishna says, whenever you are in doubt, look at, try to find out a role model and just follow whatever the role model has actually done. Who can be the bigger example or role model other than the avatar himself? So
True.
if you look at Bhagwan's life, it is not just because he's God, everything is not honky dory for him. He has gone through trials and tribulations like anything. As a childhood, he was taken to a tantric, and then he has to go through. Somebody has to shave off his head and then cut his scalp, and you put lemon water. You try putting aftershave after shaving. You'll understand how it stings. And for Bhagwan, you have to put lemon water, literally acid, vitamin C, on a fresh cut on the scalp. It is very painful, brother. So just because he's Bhagwan doesn't mean that he's saved from all of these things. He had to also lose his parents, like most of us. He also has to take care of his parents. He had to live with a family, his relatives. He had to handle opposing forces. He had to handle complementary forces. So everything, just take from Bhagwan to Lord Krishna. That is even worse. And Krishna is almost abused in some of the cultures. But point is, that is what avatar is. Avatar gives you a nice reference point of how to conduct, given a particular situation. So God is a beautiful reference point. But the point is, he can become your reference point if you agree to follow him. So it can be as many reference, but God becoming a reference point again is only when you are again spiritually evolved. So that is where I want to rest my case.
Beautiful. I think it's a very good starting point. Why do we need God is a reference point, no doubt about it. Even Bhagavan also always says that, if you have to learn from the life of God and godly people. So they are the best examples. Vishal, your input, anything?
Absolutely,
Please
brother.
join in yourself. You don't wait
As
for me to tell.
as Surya brother spoke, now that's when I started thinking a deep into like Swami in his avatar has not done anything that a human being cannot do. Basically, it's like the water projects, or be it the education institutions that he has started, or be it all the seva activities that he does. He has shown human beings that every human being has the ability to do each and every things that Swami has done, just that they need to align themselves to the correct way of doing it. And that's why we need God to align ourselves into the right way of living. And 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 it's very difficult, brother. As I say, I can just say that it's needed to align and live in the principles and to align ourselves in the right way of living. But it is a process. It's not a one day activity that's going to happen. But Swami gives us the time to understand that. Swami gives us the way and shows us this is the way to go through to reach that destination. And that's my thought about why we need God.
Since all of you are in a corporate environment, let me throw a quizzer for you. If look at Avatar in your own lives, okay, as observing, and give me some attributes which you have learned from Avatar, which can make you a better person as a good manager or a parent or whatever. Some good tips. Share us that. What has living with God taught you in terms of attributes?
I'll come in.
Yes,
Yeah,
sure.
I'll come in with a small story here if that's okay. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So this happened in the Shivratri of, I think, 2009, or yeah, 2009. And what had happened was, early in the morning, we as students, we went there, and we were supposed to sit in the front block as post graduation students. And we see that a set of youth from one of the states, who had done, I think, 108 days of Rudram and all of that, were seated in the front, absolutely bang on in the front. So, as students, we were like, oh my god, this is such a beautiful chance on Shivratri morning to be sitting, and it's gone. So, you are in this miniature war with Swami, as like chancellor, boss. And this is my day of annual appraisal, or this is as you, as brother, you were saying, this is the day which Swami celebrates. And we are not getting a chance to be there with Swami, and we are like, Swami, come on, this is not done. And the entire morning darshan, like most of the students were looking at Swami with, aisa na, it's like, saying, Bhagavan, come on. Like, it's like that boss who said, I'll give you appraisal on next day, and then the letter never came. It's that kind of boss. But he is has to man but he has to manage the entire universe, right? And you see it as a team, as one team of a, as a CEO. This is one team, like a finance team, being accusing him of, not being this thing. In the evening, a message comes to the hostel saying, Swami has said that my boys can sit in front. So, jubilant, it's our time. We go and sit in the third block, and this entire set of youth are sitting in the fourth block. And still there is a little bit of ambivalence, but Swami said boys can sit in front. So these are also youth. They are in all terms his boys. That's another department from a CEO perspective, but they are also boys. But saying that my boys karke, the standard definition karke, we are sitting in front, and I'm sitting in the fourth block when Swami is coming. And on this side are wardens, and on that side were the coordinators of this youth team. And from Swami, from far, sees the change has happened. And Bhagwan comes in and looks at and say, and then suddenly looks and says, Arey, why are you sitting behind? He looks at the coordinators and says, why are you sitting behind? And he looks at the ward and says, why are you sitting in front? And just to show what's happening. And our warden say, yes, Swami, we will immediately get up all the boys and move them behind, let these move in front. And Swami like, it's okay, they are also my boys, you are also my boys, no
My
problem, just
voice.
continue seating. And then all the boys were jubilant. just this, this kind of capability in a corporate world, it is, I think, one of the most difficult things that I see with leaders to try and balance and keep everyone happy with the same smile, the same words, not an angry word, not a point of bias, just pure love. And everyone is aligned to the same goal of pleasing Swami. Only a god as a leader can do that. That's why
Yes.
Sanjay Sani sir, I remember this line, used to say, the descent of man, so descent of god is for the
God,
ascent of
for the
man. it
Beautiful.
it
Yes.
summarizes him in a line. So, and this
Beautiful.
is
Beautiful. I think
corporate behavior,
a
which
very sweet,
is
very
the most
sweet
difficult.
memory. Very sweet memory.
Yes.
Very
Beautiful.
sweet memory.
So,
And yes,
brother,
Surya.
taking from the stream where Akshay, left. So let me give two examples. One happened during my time, and the next one happened just after I graduated. The first one is in 2001 when the Gujarat earthquake happened, Bhuj earthquake, and uh, I will not rattle the statistics. We all know about it, how miserable and how difficult it was. And Bhagwan sent two ashram functionaries to, with a load of trucks. I mean, all the relief supplies to Gujarat, for relief. And one of the beautiful thing is said, you must not function like a delivery man. No, मैं जाकर सारे छोड़ दिया. I put all the supplies that you have given, toothbrush and toothpaste and clothes you have collected from hostel and elsewhere, and we have just, we just transferred it to the Gujarat Seva Nation, and we are back. That is not what service is. You must not function like a delivery man. You
Beautiful.
have to play the role of a friend. And that is, brother, where the beautiful thing is. The entire spirituality, even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells to Arjuna, Arjuna, you are my devotee and my friend. The spirituality can be summarized by, this one beautiful word called friendship. We can be friendly with many people, with almost everybody in the world. And friendship doesn't depend upon hierarchy. Friendship doesn't depend upon my capacity. Friendship doesn't depend upon the resources I command. Friendship doesn't depend upon my power that I have. Friendship is actually more purer than brothers, because brothers still, we know we are connected either by blood or to a common mother, even if we don't talk to each other. But in friendship, it is purely heart to heart. And that is the love, Bhagwan wanted or wants all of us to have. What Arjuna and Krishna, shared, the same between devotee and devotee. Just to take it little for, just after in 2008, there was a massive flood that happened in my state, the place I come from, Odisha. So the districts of Cuttack, the districts of Jagatsinghpur, Puri and Kendrapada, they were all inside water. 6,000 family, 6,000 villages, brother, got marooned. 6,000 is not a small number, and 4 million people got displaced. And Bhagwan happened to read this from a little newspaper. And I remember, reading somewhere, Bhagwan asked his people, around this trustees, does Orissa doesn't have rich people? No, they have. Then why are the people languishing like this? Because Orissa is very rich in mineral resources, but every business is somewhere in foreign lands. So when it is there to exploit the resource, you are there in the state. When you are here to contribute, you are not there. Then Bhagwan sent, a different thing. And Bhagwan beautifully designed, he said, I will build the houses. And I remember, I think 700 or 1,000 houses were built. And one of the beautiful thing is that, please ensure that the plinth of the house is kept very way up, because or the
Higher.
water will go up. You have to save these houses also from future floods. Who can think about it, brother, other than God?
Skills.
God, according
Yeah.
to me, gives you
Skills.
4 things. God gives you resources. Wherever you do not have resources, God gives you resources. Whether it is manpower, it is physical infrastructure, it is technology. You look at the radio side, the technology we have, or even our planetarium. How many universities can command a planetarium? I don't think anyone in the country. We have the best of technologists in this. So God gives you resources. God doesn't insult you. God ensures your reputation is kept at least okay, or in public. In private, he will chastise you because he's a mother there. But in public, he will praise you. He will not never insult you. And there are a number of examples about this. When Swami actually, takes you on in public, only you will listen that. Others do not listen this. That's the second thing. God always works with consent. How many times we have seen Bhagwan asking the state president, I mean, your word is my command, but you are asking me as if I am important. Can I do this? Can boys come next? Can can darshan happen next? Can the drama happen next? You don't need to ask. This is your mandir. You have to command, but he asks. That is consent. And finally, God always works, based on truth. For me, brother, truth is very simple. I have never seen Swami break a rule. Whatever the law of the land, Bhagwan will adhere to this. Rules are very important. Second, Bhagwan always works based on evidence. I remember summer courses, Bhagwan will take us on a beautiful, discourse about Ramayana. It was so beautiful that our eyes will suddenly start closing. And then, hey, suddenly he will give a materialization. This is what Rama gave to Sita. And then he will materialize. This is
I like
evidence.
the interpretation of truth, He
Yeah, exactly.
produces evidence.
This is evidence-based, conversation. It is never in the air. That is what God is. And finally, I remember, one incident I heard from. I read it somewhere. No, did not hear. I'm sorry for that. It's about an incident with Rajmata. Bhagwan used to visit Rajmata. Rajmata of Jamnagar or Navanagar. He's a very very important. I'm not important. Very close devotee of Bhagwan, and Bhagwan was to also respect her like a mother. In 1970s, Bhagwan went to Rajkot to her palace, and Rajmata too, because Bhagwan is coming. She instructed her bodyguard Sheikh. He's an Arab. He's an Arab national. Ensure that no one enters the palace with shoes on. Palace and the pedestal. And then after some time, a stream of car comes in, and the first person to get out is Bhagwan. And Bhagwan had chappals on, I mean shoes on. So when the stream of organizers wanted to bring Bhagwan or welcome Bhagwan, our Sheikh brother was outraged him and said, Baba, juta nikalo. And Baba had to take out
The watchman, the gatekeeper,
Yeah, the
actually, the
watchman.
gatekeeper of the
Yes.
house.
Yes. And Baba had to, take out the slippers, and Baba had to walk. It is Gujarat. It is very
No, no,
hot.
no. He didn't there. Let me correct. The story,
Yes.
he stops Swami and he says, Baba, कृपया चप्पल निकालिए. Please take out your slippers. At
Yes.
that moment, Rajmata came.
Yes. Yes.
At that moment,
yes.
Rajmata came and she was furious.
Furious.
Like, how dare you stop Swami? And now Rajmata is scolding him and Swami is pacifying Rajmata.
Exactly.
That Rajmata, he is such a good person. He is obedient to you. He didn't
Exactly.
insult me. He very politely asked for my slippers because you told him that nobody should enter. He said, Swami, I
Exactly.
told him, but he should use his brain. That we are talking. But Swami was like, she was so furious. So, but Bhagwan
Swami,
said to him, no,
Swami
no, it's
blessed
very
it.
good. And
Yes.
actually, he blessed him. Swami blessed him a
Yes.
lot.
Yes. That is what. So that is what. So that is what the adherence to duty that Bhagwan actually commands. So truth, resource, reputation, consent. This actually summarizes what how God can be applied in our daily lives. Thank you,
So, yeah.
brother, for this correction.
Very
Just
if I
to
can
add,
give a
yes, Vishal, go for it.
just to add one more point to the list, Surya brother mentioned Swami also, when he takes up any activity, he puts his 150% into it and pays attention to each and every small thing also. His attention to detail is to the supreme level, and that is a big thing that we all need to also learn.
Absolutely.
And he forgets the moment the work is done.
Yes.
That is the
If
biggest
we
thing.
can, if we can learn that, that is a phenomenal thing.
Phenomenal.
He will be passionately involved till the work is going on, and once the work is done, he will leave it as if there's nothing matters for it.
That's the greatest learning humanity can have from Bhagwan, because we hold on to so many things, and we either keep on talking about it or keep on abusing others because of it's unsuccessful. But the moment the work is done, we should just get over with. Yes. Thank you.
I'd like
Akshay,
to.
yes, Satya, please,
Sorry.
Satya, carry on.
I was saying that I would like to, in a lighter vein, also bring in a different point of view into this. So what happens is, when we go outside, all of us are working in our respective organizations. I think life goes flat at a particular level till someone finds out you're a sci student. The moment people find out that you are a sci student, automatically the level of performance, the level of behavior, the way you carry yourself,
Expectation.
that expectation moves up by, I think, 100 basis points. You know, I think I have noticed it everywhere. Like till someone finds out I'm a science student, I can be, as normal as it gets. But the moment someone tells me, "Oh, you have studied in Sri Satsai Institute of Higher Learning. You're a science student," it's that because Swami has always conducted him at the pinnacle of behavior, the pinnacle of performance, the pinnacle of activities. As the moment his name gets added to us, we are expected, if not 100%, at least always strive for that excellence in performance. And I think that automatically reflects some way or the other in our corporate lives. So for example, when my first job, it was in KPMG, and in my team we had one senior brother who was an alumnus, and then in my batch I think around 4 or 5 people joined. And so what happened is, 2 or 3 years down the line, so we used to have, because KPMG is a consulting company, they hire from different places, they hire from tier 1 colleges, tier 2 colleges. And my team was actually performing pretty well that point of time. And 2 years down the line, suddenly one day, my partner, she calls me and she tells that, we are looking at expanding a lot. So uh, we want to actually hire from Sri Satyasai Institute of Higher Learning. So, and normally in consulting, they don't hire en masse, they don't hire so many people. So I asked her, how many people are you looking for? One, two? She don't know. Let's go for like some 12, 13 people. Uh, and I'm like, are you sure? 12, 13 people in one shot? Yeah, yeah, let's go. I mean, we are expanding. We definitely need more people. And let's hire from your college. And that has been, I mean, roughly how it has been. I mean, I have worked now 6 years in a corporate world. That always has been. It is always one or two Sai students who come into our organization. People see them, people notice them perform. And it's not like, we are wearing whites to office with Vibhuti and, we are telling Sai Ram to everyone on the way. Every call starts, we are, neatly, Sai Ram, everyone, please. It's not that we do anything. It's just that the moment people, matlab, irrespective of us knowing that people know we are Satyasai students, or us just cognitive of the fact that, oh, there are 2 or 3 Satyasai students there. So we ensure that, we are always performing as Swami would want us to perform. Like you are doing, this is because Akshay is my boss. This is something Akshay also tells me all the time. That at the end of the day, if you are saying that, you are handing over this work to Swami, you give your best. I mean, do everything that you can. And at the end of it, he's Bhagavan. He will take care. So you're always pushing for this thing. And I think that the tag of Sai student becomes a burden, but then it slowly also ensures that it uplifts your own performance. I feel that many a times I've heard so many stories of people across organization where it comes out, that these people are Sai students.
Thank you,
There's
Satya,
something
for
different about them.
bringing this flavor into the discussion. And let me summarize this conversation into three parts. You know, uh, when we start our journey, it's a with God. So there is a concept of with God, and in that physically it was interpreted more that because some people had a privilege to be around Bhagavan Avatar. But with God is important to start this journey in a better way. And then from there we move to for God. Whatever you do it for Him. And that is where we are talking about the concept of love of God and the fear of sin as defined as anything which can deviate us from God. So we come for God. And ultimately, we hope that we reach a state of living in which, as Vishal was saying, we are in alignment with ourselves. And that could become in God. So with God, for God, and in God.
In God.
So, what is your view? Let me ask you a very straight question, then you can share your thoughts on this. Is to uh, how do you look at these three, and how do you look at with God in the present context now, since the physical avatar is not available? Akshay, let us start with you.
Yeah, hopefully again, Wi-Fi permitting and Swami permitting his connectivity. It is. So I think with God in today's connection is attending a satsang like this, Abhimanyu brother, and I think really kudos to you. I remember a small story which you had actually narrated in one of your satsangs with Radio Sai, which was surrender and shut up. I remember this very beautiful one. Like, such things, it just keeps you with God. There is it makes you on a daily basis. Many times, after you finish a day's work or after you go through a day with its difficulties, you think, what am I doing here? What's happening? And then you try to go and you think, and many of my classmates also will say this, yeah, those days were great, those days were amazing. That's always, that was the golden period. But how do I make today's day golden? And satsangs, just if I listen to a satsang of 2 hours, and I've listened to a few, before this, it just makes me like, yes, Swami's there, and just listening to it for me is with God. From there, the next day when I'm sitting and working, it gives me a little more flavor of saying, yeah, this is, now I can offer this to God. So, I'm working for God. Now I feel it. Like the with God has pushed me into the direction of working for God. But then the most difficult one is that sync, which I generally talk about when we say in God. There's a certain sync which what's happening. And again, I'm bringing a small football example for the way Barcelona would play. They would call it, or even Ajax, this Dutch club would play. It's called tiki taka. You just know that the next player is here. You don't even have to look. You just have to touch the ball and the next player is there. There's that sync, continuous. And a small story, with your permission, I'll narrate about how I saw someone showing the sync with Bhagwan. In our 12th class vacations, winter vacations, some of us had decided to stay with Swami. And during that time, he gave these medallions of silver medallions with Swami's engravement to all the boys. It was a very small group, around 30 boys. And I think there were very few of them left. So Swami just said, distribute it to everyone. And the 30 of us, the boys who were, from college, got it. And then Swami called a primary school kid to chant Vedam. And this boy chanted it as usual. They chanted in a mellifluous voice, total confidence. So I was so happy. He looked on the side to get one more from who was distributing it, and that boy was feeling so bad because they had got over. And then Swami just looked at all the boys. It's just a look, and all of us are just lost. And one among us, jumps up, goes to Swami from the side, gives him his box, the box in which the medallion had come from the side, just passes it and sits back. And Swami takes that medallion and gifts it to this primary school boy. And the
So
happiness
beautiful.
in Bhagwan's face, just that this boy synced at that point of time. He knew exactly what Swami wanted,
Yes.
Beautiful.
just with a look. I just thought at that point of time, wish I had that. And I was not that I was thinking of something selfishly to try to hold on to it. It was not that I should not give it to him. I would have happily given it. But you don't even need Swami to say, can anyone give this to him? It should just ping, Wi-Fi connectivity
Yes.
itni achhi honi chahiye with Swami ki,
Yes.
that instant fidelity should be there. That is it.
I think it's one of the beautiful examples, and
Yes.
because it has to happen spontaneously. You cannot
Absolutely.
think. You cannot. Just sorry, you reminded me of one story, and that brother has become a high official now in US. One day in Bhajan Hall, Bhagavan was standing in the front near his chair, just before the bhajan. These sessions would happen, and he was talking, and suddenly Bhagavan posed a question. I don't recall the context on which the conversation had been going on, but Bhagavan just said, "Who is a good boy?" So when you hear the statement, "Who is a good boy?" what comes to your mind is a definition of a good boy. Like Swami is
Yes.
looking for who is a good boy.
It's right.
Whole hall is full. This side, all the boys are sitting on the men's side. One boy raises his hand.
Lovely. Beautiful.
Can you imagine that? It was such a spontaneous thing. Somebody said, "Who is a good boy?" and he raised his hand. And now he's looking at it like, why nobody else is lifting hand? And Swami, from there, he looked at him straight. And the eyes of Bhagwan, when he
Yeah.
looks
Yeah.
at you,
Piercing.
he's looking at you. And he, poor fellow, was so stunned that he could not even bring his hand down. His hand was up. And Swami walked all the way from there and came on the path and came next to him and looked at him eye to eye. And imagine his hand is still there only. And Swami said, are you a good boy? And I think then something dawned on his head, something, and he very sheepishly said, "Yes, Swami." And then his hand came down. He didn't know whether he has done a mistake or what. But as soon as he said, "Yes, Swami said, "Chala Santosham, come." And he called him and gave him Pad Namaskar. He
Wow.
became an overnight star.
Wow.
Wow.
But as you mentioned, I just recalled it because it's a spontaneity, the link, the sync with God. When he says, "Who is a good boy?" he didn't think of a definition. He said, "I am a good boy." And that was phenomenal. And I'll tell you a humorous one. Sorry, I'm just sharing this short story. One day,
No, brother, please,
there was
please.
an,
Yeah.
there was an examination thing, and everybody had done bad. I think Swami only instigated this, that a surprise test must be held. So when surprise test happened, and all of us literally failed. Very bad. It was such a horrible test, I can't even tell you. So we were all in the mandir and very sad. And Swami came in a very teasing smile and he said, "What happened today?" So we thought that we can complain to Swami and he will look after, he'll take care of. Because otherwise the marks will get added on to your system and you are totally down. Your GPA will go down. So we were hoping that Swami would take our stand. So everybody was like, "Swami, very bad, Swami." "Enduku, what happened?" And he also very, like concerned mother is asking. So then some boys, then, some people get encouraged and they started complaining that, "Swami, it was not told to us." And his face changed. "Endukura, why should they tell you? Don't you study every day?" And his whole strain changes. And he says, "Don't you study every day? If you study every
Baap.
day, then you can appear anytime and you should get at least 70%. If you study, then you should get 80%. If you study properly, you should get 90 and up." So that is his standard format. If you study regularly every day, you must get 60, 70%. Will you get 70%? Now everybody zipped. And then Swami went on talking in that way. And after a few minutes, Bhagwan said, "Okay, tell me honestly, who here thinks that he will fail?" Now imagine how many of you can raise hand at that time. You can't even raise hand for that also. So Bhagwan said, "Okay, tell me, who here thinks that he will fail?" One boy lifted his hand.
Wow.
Imagine that sink you're talking about, he lifted his hand. Swami again walked up to him. He said, "Are you sure?" He said, "I'm so sorry, Swami. As you said, I did not study, but this time I will fail, but I will work hard from next time." So he owned it and he confessed the sink was perfect. Swami immediately created a pen for him.
Wow.
He created a pen and he said, "Write with this, you will never fail in life."
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Look at the sink. And then Bhagwan paused and said, "Who else thinks he will fail?"
Everybody else.
Trick question.
And all the hands went up. And then Swami said, "Now it's too late." See the playfulness of God. But what you're telling me, I just recall that the sync with the Lord, that the in alignment with Him is such a critical and crucial thing. Sorry to take
So,
your time. Please,
no, just a thought
you are
on this
supposed to
only, just
speak.
to no, brother, no, please, it's absolutely beautiful. Just a development on the sync part. Uh, we as a means as a practicing life coach, and sometimes some devotees come to us and say, I can't feel Swami now. Especially after the second wave of COVID, many people say, this link has broken or something happened so untoward that this I can't just understand why this would happen. And I was just thinking how this works. And again, just I'll bring in two aspects from the footballing world. I think I've seen a lot of football this week. There was one coach who said that many players don't go like Messi or Ronaldo because actually their inspiration for their motivation is high, but their stamina for their motivation is low. What is needed is the stamina of motivation has to keep staying on. And when you look at a player like Messi, and when you ask him, you became he scored this amazing goal which kind of resembled Diego Maradona one day. And a reporter told him, "You've become an overnight star." He said, "It took me 15 years to become an overnight star." He said this line. And that's when, when you think of Bhagwan, and how we can sync it. Many of us think, because we were students for X amount of years, the sync is there. But that's like having a gymkhana membership or a club membership. You went one time, lifetime membership, you can show the certificate, and then you can enter in any time. With Swami, it's not like that. It's actually like going to a gym on a daily basis to maintain your fitness, and then you can stay aligned to your body, and keep fit. In the same way, you have to, on a daily basis, connect with Swami in some way or the other. Like, it's like going to a Sai gym, if you call it, to stay in that sync, which is something which, kind of connected with me. And maybe it starts with a small thing, like, listening to satsang like this and feeling with Swami, then working for him, and then the sync reestablishes over time.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Have you ever noticed, more than humans, we have seen also animals in sync with God?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Number of
Any
times.
memories on
Yes.
that?
Sai Gita, no one, I think.
Perfect example.
I mean, we always wonder what is the conversation Bhagwan has with an elephant. What language does he speak? Because he doesn't speak Telugu, or he doesn't speak. Bhagwan just pats her, and Sai Gita exactly knows how to calm down, where to calm down, where to. I remember before birthday they have something called Rathostavam, and Sai Gita they used to have. Sai Gita used to actually come and lead the procession into the village, and she used to come inside the temple, and Bhagwan used to feed her, with some fruits. And you can see Saigita's desperation when she comes to Bhagwan. It's like all of us, you compete to cooperate with Swami. Most of us, we compete. Sai students, we all compete, but we compete to cooperate with Swami. The maximum cooperation who can give to Swami, and Saigita outresses all of us. And when she comes, and her size, of course, a little intimidating. But then point is, never ever there is a problem. And then you see the beautiful love between Swami and Sai Gita. Swami just hugs her, and rather she hugs Swami with her trunk. I mean, how many of us has dared to hug Bhagwan? We say Swami is our own, but then when Bhagwan comes, how many of us feel free to just hug him? अरे यार तुम जो सोचोगे सोचो, I'll just hug you today. You are my beloved. But then point is, this is what Sai Gita actually sort of tells that.
Yeah.
And you can see the beauty between both of them. And then she leads with a very disciplined way, like the queen of Prashant Nilayam, marching right on the front, and with all the bhajan singers and Vedam and the Ratham, behind her. Yes, brother, it's a beautiful memory.
Actually, she is the one person, she can walk into hostel area and be in the grounds, play with the boys, and never heard even single incident where
Yes.
any child would have been hurt by her.
Yes.
And nobody felt any fear or any discomfort going closer to her. She was
Never.
very welcoming and caring. It's strange. And we used to call it like, she's our bell, because in those days phones were not there. So if Bhagwan is gone to Bangalore or anywhere and he is returning, she would know first. Before the phone call comes, she would know.
Wow.
And her trumpet would tell us that Swami is nearby. Just run. Because we knew if she is making noise, Bhagwan is right there.
Yes.
Actually, there is a cow story also from Bangalore, Whitefield.
Okay.
Near Bhagwan's bungalow, there used to be a cow shed. And one afternoon, one cow started making a lot of noise. And she delivered a baby calf. And when she was making noise, the boys who were taking care of her thought that maybe because of the delivery, she's having pain. And they were trying to pacify her. But she was actually becoming louder. And then Bhagwan suddenly appeared in the afternoon. He came down Usually, that's not his time to come out. He came
Right.
out and just stood in front of her. And it's a sight to watch. The calf is born, that is on the ground, and this cow is standing, and Bhagwan comes and stands in front of her. She takes 3 rounds of Bhagwan and drops at his feet and dies.
Sorry.
And Bhagwan very beautifully looks at her and she says, she prayed that her time had come, so she wanted to, me to accept her. And then she said, Bhagwan, I'm leaving. Take care of my baby. And I
Sure.
promised her I'll take care of her.
Beautiful,
Oh,
beautiful.
So can you imagine the sync which animals can have with God? It's such a sweet one.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
obviously Sai Gita and all. I'm sure all of you have seen Sai Gita, right?
yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And I'm sure you must have there when she left this mortal body.
Yes. Yes.
So you
Actually,
have
when
witnessed
Abhibrata,
what a
you had
grand farewell. Yes, Vishal.
when you're telling about Sai Gita being the well for students, so when I was from 2010, when I was in the hostel in the school, that time Sai Gita was not there. So I remember in school hostel we used to have a bell, electric bell. When Swami comes crosses school gate, the teachers or the students will ring that bell so that everyone will come running
Really?
down. So,
So sweet.
so what had happened was once I remember in the room I was changing my dress and we are getting ready, and this bell rang. We just dropped everything and we came down. And a lot of people from 8th standard, 9th standard, 12th standard kids from the first the ground floor and 11th from the floor all came down. And then we saw this brother next to the bell. He told, I'm sorry, instead of switching on the light, I switched on this bell. And we all were like, oh my god. So these
Do you
errors
know?
can happen to human beings. But Sai Gita,
Yeah.
never.
Never. Never.
That
Never
sync with
happened.
Swami. That's it.
Beautiful,
Wow.
beautiful.
See, humans
And
can err, but Sai Gita would never. It's such a beautiful thing.
to think of
Okay,
it that
brothers.
yeah, sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, Akshay, please carry on.
No, and to think of it that humans are supposedly Jantunam Narajanma Durlabham, that humans are the pinnacle of creation and have this and they say the intellect and discrimination are there with humans, which animals don't have on paper. But what matters is the sync at the end of the day, because you spend your entire intellect and discrimination trying to at the end reach that sync, and they just have that. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, if you have instinctively that sync, then nothing else is required, probably.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, brothers, let me bring this discussion to another dimension. Today, when we do not have the greatest blessing of his physical proximity and darshan, if I may ask you, what motivates you to stick to this path, to remain aligned with him, to find that sync with him? I'm
So actually,
opening the
brother,
floor for all of you.
there is no alternative. There is no alternative.
I
So
like that.
you literally have been blessed to stay with Bhagwan, and we have seen Swami as our mother and father, because far away from home, he actually looks after us more than what our parents could have been. Inquiring about each every day the hostel food and right at everything in Brindavan. It's actually worse, because he's your next door neighbor, and he exactly knows when the hostel lights go off, and he can also points it out in the next day darshan that boys slept late last night. I have During our time it happened. So I remember the then warden come to us and tell, Swami was telling that you slept late last night. I mean our room, because you can straight see Bhagwan from there, Bhagwan's room. And yeah, so he's aware of us, and he has trained us literally how to look at the world. Is there an alternative? Second thing is, brother, I realized that after coming here, first time in my life, there is somebody who listens to our prayers. Would you ever want to let go of somebody who listens to our prayers? I mean, you make n number of applications to the government or to your CEOs or anybody else who never even get a reply. But God is somebody who actually listens to your prayers. If sometime you feel He has not listened to you, it is because you have not prayed enough. And I have a lot of experiences in that. And the third thing, brother, actually, what what has kept me, or how I look at Bhagwan is, Swami's path gives us, helps us to be in control of ourselves. So, what is spirituality? It's about being conscious about ourselves. When I say conscious about ourselves, our all the indriyas that we have, where exactly it is going, what type of information are we collecting? Because your brain only will process those things what you put inside, and the only way the brain can process information is what your eyes, what your ears, what your tongue, all these things actually start collecting. So Swami's path helps you to discriminate between information that you really want and the garbage. Now, just because I'm saying right now doesn't mean that I'm not in garbage. Sometimes garbage also enters. But then Swami's path only helps us to, to clean up that garbage again and restart the path once again. So these are the three things. It helps you to keep us pure and in tune with Him. That is why, that is how I look at Swami post Mahasamadhi.
I'll I'll just come in here. I think very
Yes.
interestingly, on the day of Sanidhi, that is April 24th, 2011, I happened to be in Dharmakshetra in Mumbai, uh, and it was stranger. It became a little more strange because on every week at that point of time, there used to be this training given by a few students and elders to new students who were applying for the university, and the students had assembled there in the morning, not aware of the news, and then they got the news. Them and their parents are sitting in one of the classrooms of the Dharmakshetra school, and there were, and no students had come in that day to actually do the training because everyone was shell shocked. And some reason I and two of my brothers happened to be there, and then this elder who had actually trained me also while entering said, "Do you want to speak something to them?" And first of all, you are in a very different space, and just in that instinct, I remember this point coming in there, that if Swami wanted things to not work. And I'm just bringing in an example here of when Rama was leaving his physical body, he literally allowed anyone who wanted to join him to immerse themselves in the Sarayu and attain liberation with him. in
Yes.
krishna's in krishna's structure, again, I'm sorry if factually I might be incorrect, in Krishna's structure, the entire Dwarka went underwater with Bhagwan, with Krishna's departure. And the Yadus, they kind of fought with each other, and basically the kind of project itself ceased to exist. But we continued to stay alive that day once Swami left. So there was something that was there, and that was that system. So if the Swami wanted the system to stay on, then that system was his legacy, which he wanted to stay on. And telling that to these students, that you have to go there also for the system. The system is what Swami has designed with such care. Literally, it was the biggest project of his entire sojourn on earth. So sticking to that system is the way ahead. And even personally, I'm sorry, I'm just coming back to the point which I lost when I went offline about waking up early in the morning for Suprabhatam. It was such a painful thing at the start. And once I left Parthi, I kind of, came into a defensive mode that I'm never going to wake up early. I've done 7 years of sleeplessness. I'm done. I'm going to sleep till 7. I'm going to sleep. Once the sun is up, please don't make me better wake up in the dark. And it was like a like a strong thing. And then, again, and other things maybe, trying to be in sync. But how Swami wants to push everything, he wants to prove that that system, that he is in that system, is
Yes.
I developed sleep issues after a few years due to excessive work or technology and social media and all that mix of things. And the answer to do it was to sleep early, which is 10 p.m., and wake up at 5:36 a.m. and start your day. And that started helping me, just that bringing that simple discipline in, and ensuring that your entire day was so strongly utilized from an exercise perspective, being active, ensuring that you fall asleep at the end of the day. That
Yes.
literally, I said, this system is perfect. So it at the end of the day, it does make sense. Maybe 10 years later, so it's just it's what motivates you, that you can
Okay.
try and diverge, but it's what works.
Vishal, what is your input?
No, absolutely, brother. When I think Surya brother and Akshay brother are talking about this, like there is no other alternative, because when we see our colleagues in the office, or when we see our friends who are not from this kind of an angle or a dimension of having Swami or being in the spiritual path, What lacks is they on a daily basis face issues like sleeplessness, they face issues with their diet, they face issues with their health, hygiene, and multiple factors. And indirectly, like Swami gives that path to us, Swami gives that thing to us, and there is no other alternative for us just to be in that, to ensure that we have that holistic lifestyle where he becomes the driving force. And at the end of the day, like it comes to that, when we started with telling that with God, for God, and in God, that cycle comes like that, no, where when we do activities for Swami and when we do activities without having an expectation of the outcome, then we are in sync with Swami. And then when that happens, then automatically our lifestyle is structured in a way that there is nothing to be worried about. So I feel no, there is no other alternative than to be and having him as the internal GPS, we call it, like the IGPS
Yes.
of our lives.
Yes.
Satya,
Uh, I mean, I was just thinking as Surya brother, Akshay brother, and Vishal, they were talking. Um, I think Swami was there in his physical form for me for 3 years. 2008 I joined, so 2008, 2009, and 2010. And for I would not count 2010 so much because I had gone to Vrindavan, and I mean it's a different experience to be in Parthi 365 days a year with Swami, and then in Vrindavan where you actually come to Parthi for festivals. So I mean, I was just thinking about how that transition happened. You are still a student, you are still in Parthi. I mean, you are in the system, you are in Vrindavan, you're coming to Parthi for every major festival, you're coming for Gram Seva. And then what happens, I think even as a student, for me, there was a change in psyche. I mean, uh, you hear stories about Swami coming in someone's dream and talking to them. You hear about all these experiences where devotees. It might be false, it might be true, it might be someone's just hallucination or whatever. But then, uh, as our teachers would say us in the institute, right? That there are no when it's Swami concerned, there are no coincidences. There are only coincidences. So all of us are looking for that one spark, that one point where you feel that that link again, I would say. And I think that is what defines everything that you do after that. Because you know when you are a student, you are always looking at how you are conducting yourself only at that point of time when you feel that Swami is not speaking to you, or Swami is a little angry on you, or Swami is you have done a, so that is when you go back and think that did I do something because of which Swami is angry at me and then Swami is not looking at me. Now what happens is, because that physical form is not there, you are constantly thinking that is Swami looking at me, and you are constantly thinking that am I doing it right. It might not always happen, but I think personally there are some, at least with the major things in my life, or there are points when I stop and I start thinking that am I doing the right thing, am I not doing the right thing. And then I imagine if Swami were here, would he look at me in anger, or would he say it's okay, no problem. And I think that is what manifests itself. I mean, I would love it if I could say that 100% of time it manifests itself in the way I think, or the way I do things. But most of the time it happens. I'm looking at that side incidents. Some good thing happens after you have done something, thinking that what would Swami want me to do here, and something good happens, and then you are like, "Acha, okay," he's smiling, so it is good. In a subtle way, I think that is how that living with
so
Swami and
basically,
living for Swami.
your motivation is to remain in sync with Swami,
Yes.
and that is what gives you fulfillment. Good enough, man. That's not why. That's a very big thing. Yes,
and
Vishal,
and no, I
Surya,
just
you
got
want to add? Yeah.
reminded of one thing when Satya brother was talking about. So in my 11th standard, Swami was there physically, and from my 12th standard, the physical presence was missing. So I was personally into that cycle of getting and coming to the reality that no, I'm going to miss Swami's physical presence till my student days gets over and things like that. So it was difficult for me, but what I understood through that period, that the beauty about Bhagwan, the beauty about Bhagwan's experience is that it's not an experience for one single person. For example, if Swami's experience, when Akshay Brother narrates an experience about Swami and him, if I close my eyes and hear that experience and imagine myself to be in that situation, I get the same bliss as what Akshay Brother would have got. at that point of time.
Absolutely,
Beautiful,
absolutely.
beautiful.
So true.
This is
And
beautiful.
that is the miracle of Swami. That is the greatest blessing Swami has given to all of us devotees. That not necessarily that physically we had to be there that time when Swami was there. It's just that when we think and just be in sync with Bhagwan, we get the same bliss what people would have experienced that time.
Like just a one liner that, as brother Amay had said, that Swami has moved from Yajur Mandiram to Hridaya Mandiram. Simple,
Yes.
one line,
Very
just
good.
to
Yes.
that.
Yes. In the in the in
Very,
the
very
in the same
nice.
in the yeah
Yes,
in the
Surya.
same line of thought, brother. Essentially, what brother Akshay and brother Vishal said, Swami has actually left his body, not us. And it is his assurance he has never left us. And I have realized this number of times in my life when I was a student and when also I'm an alumnus. So, for example, I remember my first, after 11th standard when I went home during the summer vacations. Uh, you know, uh, you were just like Akshay. I just wanted to relax. Sleep well. Sleep well means sleep late, and wake up whenever I want to. And initially, my parents also, indulged me in this till and until one day a letter comes from the principal, and they will actually send you a results of the final exams and also an instruction sheet. Your son has been taught in some number of discipline. Ensure that the discipline is also followed in holidays. My father, like a shock, he woke up, and from the next day he woke me up at 4:45, and every day Nagar Sankirtan, brother, in the Samiti. Okay, Suprabhatam, Nagar Sankirtan, Suprabhatam. So what the school couldn't teach me, memorizing the Suprabhatam, my father ensured that. That is what it is. So Swami never leaves us. The routine is there. The routine is a dory, that has kept us tied to him. And if you want to break it, he just strengthens it. And then I remember when I went for my PhD interview in IIM Lucknow, the question I was asked, you won't believe, is Gram Seva. That the only thing I was grilled about, and grill means was asked about, what exactly is this Gram Seva? How do you do this? Then what happens? Who is the beneficiary? The sustainability of it, okay, and so on and so forth. The leadership, because I wrote in a proposal about leadership, and that is all it is. And I'm in. So why should somebody ask about Gram Seva in a completely alien place? And we as an institute also do not even advertise this, right? So Swami is connected to us. We believe he has left. Yes, he has left a body, but not us. He's still connected with it, provided we are aware of it.
Here I'm tempted to throw in another terminology which we use in our circle,
Please.
is near and dear to God. All these experiences of with God is basically the nearness of the divine, and Bhagwan would always humor us and say, "It is good to be near, but it is important to be dear." So, give me your final thoughts on this near and dear to Bhagwan.
Yes.
So, yeah, so I'll just wrap it up, with your permission from my side, brother. Uh, I believe it is in our good interest, but the divine act, the divine director. That is how I look at Bhagwan. He has left. For some time he has got us, nurtured us, kept us with him, showed us the path, and it is completely up to us, up to us means up to the devotees and the students and all of us to ensure that his story and legacy goes on. He is not going to be bothered whether his story goes on or not. It is in our interest to keep the story alive. That is because the story is going to help us lead the everyday life and negotiate with everyday challenges. I remember one particular incident. In Brindavan, Bhagwan doesn't stay much. He only stays for 2 months, sometimes 3 months. Only our batch was the lucky one, because super specialty hospital was, sort of the work has to go on the year 2000, and Bhagwan was the almost full time in Bangalore, and we were very happy. But I remember in 2001, it is a complete different story. And when Bhagwan was not there, there was one teacher. I will not take the name again because, of course, I've taken a few names I should have taken consent. But one teacher, Brindavan, because this entire weather is very cold. I come from the very eastern part of the country. I developed the sinus troubles. And this teacher, brother, he stayed up the entire night pressing my head so that I can go to sleep. Which teacher will do that, brother? I've been many universities, some of the top universities today. We are very scared of our students. Let me be very honest with you. The point is, the point is, this teacher stayed up the entire night pressing my forehead. I can go to sleep. His work is not going to be advertised to Swami. I am not going to write a letter about it to Swami. Nobody is going to speak about it to Swami, and it is done in the silence of the night. Why is he doing it? Because he's living the values that Bhagwan taught in his very absence. That is what we have to do. And that is where where my urge is. We have to start living the values in his absence. Then only his glory and his story will move forward.
Satya.
I think, I was just thinking about that nearness and dearness part the moment brother said it. I think for me, what I would feel is Swami actually leads us to that story, that from nearness comes, and he slowly leads you to dearness. And as I was thinking about my story, I was just thinking that when I joined 2008 to 2011, for me, the whole thing was about nearness to Swami. Now, I was telling in the last incident, you're running for that first line, you're fighting, you're scrambling, something, you either at the first row or the second or the third row, you're pining for that nearness. And then once, as Akshay Brothers very nicely put it, he has moved from Yajur Mandir to Hriday Mandir. Now that physical form is not there for you to chase that nearness. But what is there, that acceptance that, not more than acceptance, is that the understanding that, he's always there. He's always watching you. He's permanently there. And so you are now pining for that dearness because you are looking for that smile. You're looking for that one feeling, I'm sure everyone has that point, you have done something and then you are like something good has happened. And I always have Swami's photo when I'm working also. And I look at Swami and suddenly you feel that one wave of joy travels through you and you're like, Swami, thank you so much. And I sometimes correlate to the fact that at that point of time, Swami is looking at me and smiling, because I did as he wanted me to do, perhaps. So that is that you have moved slowly. Swami, I wouldn't say I have moved. I would rather say Swami has pushed me from that, pining for that nearness to Swami to now trying to, fight for that dearness of Swami. Do something that, he smiles, you recognize that smile, and then now you want more because it's an addiction. That dearness to Swami thing is a addiction, I would say.
Vishal.
Brother, for me, this phrase nearness and dearness, now I was introduced to that in my 11th standard interview. So in that interview, when they asked me why you want to join Swami school, I told I want to be near to Swami. So one of the teachers there told me, is that enough nearness to Swami? I told, yeah, I want to be near to Swami. Then he told, no, you should not aim to be near to Swami, but aim to be near and dearer to Swami. So that was the first time when I was introduced to the statement. And now that concept of nearness has fully changed because he's inside us. There is no concept of nearness required because he's there inside. He's just there here. It's just a matter of dearness that we'll have to develop. And that dearness comes, when we align and what we have spoken throughout, when we are in that constant awareness that he's the one who's there with us and acting through us, and we are there with him, automatically the dearness will come in. So that's my thought on this.
Beautiful. Yes, Akshay.
So just a small thought on this front, finance. I'm a finance guy, and so are some of us here. So numbers come very, very easily here. In a planet of 7.5 billion people, right? To be near is a very relative term. To have just known Swami is the statistically, what is the percentage? Like 0.00001% would have been with Swami, right? And then some of us were, today some of us are able to just recollect these incidents to have had these small, incidents or physical incidents and things like that. Most of us just to have known Bhagwan. Like when I was actually in South Africa, small sets of one place and we would talk, and I would say in your own street, in just the street of yours, how many people know Swami? And it's just you. Why you? What is it? Why? How do you even tell me the answer? Why have you been selected? And that kind of culminated in this story which one of our professors related, that Swami would, after every talk, every discourse, ask him, what do you want? And every time the answer would, you, Swami, or very generic, to a point where he said, Swami, I don't know what to answer. So Swami said, okay, the question is, what do you want? Today I will also tell you the answer of when I ask you, what do you want? What should you answer? And he said, yes, Swami, that is the best. So Swami said that whenever an avatar descends on this earth, he selects his team, the people who are first blessed to know him, then the people who are blessed to feel him, to have understood him, and also he has to create his own opposite parties, whom this avatar has to defeat, crush, or word crush or whatever you call it, to defeat, to enhance the role that the avatar has come for, this purpose of papa vinashanam, or whatever you call it. Pray that in every time that when I come on this earth as an avatar, I select you to be on my side. And what more dearness that today to be on Bhagwan's side. Bhagwan has chosen us to be in his team, irrespective of what role it is. How small is the team compared to the population of this universe? How can we to talk near and dear? Both of them are already there. It's just he's selected us to be a part of his team, and that's my
Beautiful.
only prayer, that every time to be a part of his team, if he needs me to be there. That's it.
Beautiful. Actually, we all are, this journey is our life. First to be near him and then to be dear him. And that is a crux of it. Only caution I can, if I have to use the word carefully, is that people should not be carried away by people who have had the privilege of his nearness alone.
Absolutely.
Like Bhagavan would always tease us, or reprimand us, that don't be like a frog sitting near the lotus and who does tar tar every time, doesn't know the value of the lotus. So he can talk about it for the lives to come, that I was very close to you know, the lotus. But look at the honeybees, they come from far off, but they take the nectar and go. So the dearness of honeybees is more important than the nearness of a frog. Like Bhagavan says, the one spoon of cow milk is more important than a barrel of donkey's milk. What is useful? So, as a caution, the dearness of God is the, if I may say, a test of our journey, of our growth.
Yes.
If the dearness has not happened, the nearness, I'll leave it to
Never
that.
mattered.
But I think it's a fantastic thought and journey. A time is also coming to an
Yes,
end.
brother.
But I thought in this evening, being a nice Navratri, I may I request Brother Vishal to allow us to close this session with a nice bhajan.
Sure, brother.
So I think we'll be blessed that way, and I'm sure it'll be a nice, befitting closure. So Vishal, all yours.
Sure, brother. जय मा आनंदमयी जननी जय मा आनंदमयी जननी सबको कृपा करो जननी सबको कृपा करो जननी भक्त जनों के मंगल करिनी भक्त जनों के मंगल करिनी मंगल करो जननी माँ मंगल करो जननी तुम हो प्रेमदायिनी माँ तुम हो प्रेमदायिनी माँ सबको कृपा करो जननी
सबको कृपा करो जननी, जय मां आनंदमयी जननी. Sairam.
Sairam, brother. Vishal, thank you for this beautiful bhajan. And on this beautiful occasion of Navratri, I wish all of you and all our viewers a most blessed and holy Navratri and very auspicious nights, auspicious days to connect with our Lord. And thank you very much for joining tonight. And thank all the viewers for being such a participative viewers for their thoughts, questions, and encouragement. So, thank you, brothers. Sairam to all of you.
Sairam, brother.
Sairam.
Thank
Any
you.
final words or we close it? Sairam.
Sairam. Thank you.
Thank you, brothers. Sairam.
Thank you.
Sairam, everybody.
Sairam.
Sai Ram,
Sairam.
Sai Ram.